Oh my god, I can't say the word. Are you turning?
Say the word. Say the word where the person drives you around. Because it's 2 podcast episodes now.
Chauffeur.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Blockbuster, where 3 dudes talk about movies that we like and sometimes don't like. Today, it's not just 3 dudes, though, and you'll find out why after the introductions, which will start with mine, as we normally do. My name's Ben. What's up?
Hello, I'm Mitch.
Who is our?
Who is the host with the most this week? Sorry, we're rusty boys.
Yeah, it's been a while. Hello, I'm Lucas. I am side host.
And I'm Kyra, and I'm not a host, but I'm here, and I'm a lady.
I feel like you're an honorary 4th host.
Yeah.
You've been the only other host on our podcast.
And an
Sure,
editor.
once.
She's also an editor.
That's fact.
Yeah,
That's
editor in
fact.
chief.
You
Yeah.
might remember Kyra from our Portrait of a Lady on Fire episode.
If you haven't
watched that, go watch it. Listen to it. It's good. It's some of our best work. And according to our analytics, only fucking 4 of you or something have listened to it, which are rookie numbers. You gotta go get those numbers up. And like and subscribe. Anyway, today we're watching a movie. Well, you might know that this category that we've chosen for our epoch of this rotation is documentaries. And the documentary chosen for us today was chosen by Mitch, our host of the most, and he chose The Last of the Sea Women.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Excellent, Mitch. Excellent.
Not to be confused with The Island of the Sea Women, which is a book about the same people, but not the same story.
Also, I have gout or plague or something, so
And I've been up since 3 o'clock, 3:40.
3 in the afternoon.
Mitch and I are rocking a situation where he has to unmute himself every time he wants to talk.
And we took like 3 weeks off from potting because one of us was out of the country, and we couldn't last week because we were all busy. So, yeah. Welcome to the unhinged episode. So, yeah, Mitch, tell us what this fucking movie's about.
Last of the Sea Women, released in 2024 and directed by Soo Kim, is a film about a group of women who are Hanyo. Hanyo is a traditional South Korean form of fishing done by diving and collecting sea life while holding one's breath. This job has been performed by exclusively women for hundreds of years. This craft and tradition has slowly dwindled as numbers of Hanyo are growing smaller and older. This is happening as the climate and economics of the world have changed around them.
Solid. One thing we like to do on this podcast is to come up with a marquee for our film that we watched. Title of the movie, the marquee. You get it. You're smart. Who wants to go first? I like mine. I'm very proud of mine this time.
The Last of the Sea Women. What is dead may never die.
I like that.
Is that a reference
Yeah.
Yeah.
to what?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
The drowned people.
The
The
show
drowned
that
god.
I haven't seen.
Yeah.
That would explain.
Same. It was also a reference I didn't get.
The other one I was gonna do
That
was
bodes well.
you better not be Fukushimaing me.
Lucas, you have one. One, Lucas. Although I really liked that one. I really enjoyed that one.
I'm glad.
All right, I'll go next. Okay. The last of the sea women. Fish and feminism.
It's all right.
So stupid.
Yeah.
Mine is Last of the Sea Women. Blue collar sea grandmas take on climate change.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I like blue collared sea grandma. Sounds like a magic card.
Or a band.
It's a ska band
Love
for
it.
sure.
Mine is The Last of the Sea Women. You're not cool, and now you know it.
I think I won.
No, you didn't. I won easily. Handedly.
No, this isn't about winning, y'all. Stop making it a competition, Ben.
That's right, Pete.
I don't know. Fish and feminism really got me.
That was pretty good. Must have taken weeks to think about that.
It took me a while, honestly. I had another one that was worse, but I replaced it. Okay. First impressions. Who wants to lead us off? Who wants to give their first impression? Who wants to give their first impression first?
I think you should, Ben.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think it's a good movie. It's the one criticism I have about it is it's more of a character movie than a plot movie, which is fine. Plot-wise, there's not a whole lot going on, but the character of the Hanyo,
Hanyo.
the character of the Hanyo and the characters who are Hanyos in the movie are fascinating visually. You have these very elderly Korean women in wetsuits diving into the water and like going and searching for sea urchins. It is fascinating to watch. They're also just very funny people. And I think the biggest benefit you get from watching a movie like this is being exposed to obscure forms of living. You know, it's very easy, especially for me, to get into a pattern of thinking where it's like my life is how life works, you know? And being exposed to people who go out into the ocean and dive for sea urchins all day to provide for their families is a very cool window into another world.
Heck yeah. I can go next. Yeah, I thought it was really cool to, like, I don't know, one, just see these women, you know, kind of like dish with each other and the community that they have kind of created. It's kind of like they were these equivalent of like surfer bros in California, except way more metal and like way more badass. But you know, they just want to connect with nature and protect nature, and the sort of love they have for their community, for their environment, is really shown. And I thought it was also very interesting, kind of the UN aspect of it all. I'm excited to get into discussing that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. These women are incredible.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought as a documentary piece, it was really well shot. It felt very modern in terms of documentary. It wasn't like that sort of 60 minutes talking head type thing. Like it felt very much like a portrait, and it felt intimate, especially with these wise people who have a lot to say, but are like sort of quiet in how they approach big topics, but like their tremendous presences in the world they inhabit is really cool. Yeah, it's very enjoyable as a film, and it's just a really interesting snapshot into, like Ben said, a way of life that you may have never imagined.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed this documentary. I agree with Mitch. There's just some beautiful cinematography, I guess, happening, framing. You're just looking at beautiful pictures on the screen, but it is also very intimate. I'm also going to echo Ben in that there's not that much of a plot. It is very about the people. It's about the women, and for me, that really works. I really like it being about these women. I think they're strong characters. I think they're strong people. And I like hearing about how they move through the world and how they live inside of it. So that really worked for me. It was an enjoyable watch. A little sad, but...
Life is sad. The world is sad. Yeah. So. I know. I'm just saying, like it's a sad story because this they live in a vulnerable position, and the world is not a great place.
Mitch is like, it's sad because life sucks.
Yeah. It's not. I'm not trying to make that as a negative. I'm saying like it's a kind of a beautiful reflection of like this, like the challenges that these women face because of today's world. Like, I don't know. We'll get into it.
I mean, I think there is something to be said about the fact that Korean, East Asian cinema does lean in more to the endings that are, this is kind of life, and maybe it kind of sucks, and maybe it's kind of beautiful still, and yeah, that's happening here.
Yeah, when I was younger, one of my main criticisms with Korean cinema in general is that they all have class conflict in them. And then as I got older, I was like, oh yeah, everything is class conflict.
That's just life. Yeah.
Facts. Yes.
Should we cut into it then, friends?
Yes.
Okay. Well, as your host with the most, I am taking us on a little journey here where we're gonna try a little different, a diversion from our normal.
Fuck.
He's hijacking the pod.
He's sick of this rogue.
Diversion from our normal format. Mostly because, in general, documentaries, because they aren't always as narrative, like quite, they're not they can be structured very strongly in that 3-act structure. But I feel with this one, I wanted to try something different that we haven't done before. So I'm almost going to be interviewing our hosts and guest here to pick their brains.
There's going to be a test?
Well, interview.
I didn't study, dog.
Pop quiz.
So basically, I'm going to just be talking about some of the themes, picking up some of the themes and kind of presenting them to y'all, and kind of just open up the floor to kind of talk about certain scenes or aspects of the film in relation to those that you found interesting or didn't find interesting. So I kind of wanted to start it off just focusing or kicking things off by recognizing just kind of how amazing these women are, their strength, their resilience and determination, and how that is depicted in the film. If any of y'all wanted to pick up from that.
So they would talk about these dives, how they would be going down, no oxygen tank at all, in these wetsuits, and they'd be going down for about like 2-ish minutes at a time, and they'd probably do that about 100 to 200 times in a day. So when I heard that, I was like, let me try holding my breath for 2 minutes. Did not get there. Y'all try it at home. Be safe.
You weren't even exerting yourself.
No. And also my lungs ain't that good. But so like already it's physically It's physically
Demanding.
Thank you. It's physically demanding just with that aspect. But then, they're fighting currents. They are having to kind of, stay aware of their environment and situation. They kind of have to do it all. So it's a very grueling thing. But then on top of that, they talk about, especially when these group of women were younger, when they were first starting off, how it was kind of like shunned by society, where, you know, their husbands, they would joke around and say their husbands would be like, don't embarrass me by being a hanyok.
Yeah,
Right?
I wrote a note where that after I heard that line, I was like, dog, if my wife was a hanyo, I'd brag about her to fucking everyone.
Yeah. And how, like, their skin was so dark because they were out in the sun all day, and that they try to go to these events with other people and try to, like, wear makeup to cover it up, and that the makeup wouldn't even suffice. So on top of the physical, like, oh my gosh, the physical
Demands.
demand. Also, the, like, societal pressure that they face along with this is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are some tough little old ladies. I would drown. Like I've straight up.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
if you dropped me and asked me to do what they're doing in these scenes, I would probably drown.
Yeah. They also are just committed to the bit.
You mean they like their lives, Ben?
They're, at one point, one of them says, a young hanyo asked one of the older ones, why can't they use an oxygen mask? And she said, because that's not the way we do things. And,
I love that.
We'll definitely get into that more down the line too. But yeah, it is interesting that sort of like cultural rigidity, like maintaining that status quo, not necessarily a bad status quo, but like that how they do things is very much part of the practice and the profession. It's really cool.
yeah, there's a whole aspect of the cultural like component of this labor. It isn't simply just, you know, if you put a oxygen mask on, you could definitely maximize returns for shareholders, but then you wouldn't be a hanyo.
Well, and there's this aspect of the relationship with the sea, the relationship with the world in which they dive and from which they harvest, that an oxygen mask and that quick access and that quick harvest just couldn't be compatible, because the point, in a lot of ways, because it's such an old practice, is making it a sustainable practice, is making it one where they can continue with that traditional practice. Yeah.
That's one thing. It's interesting you brought that up because that's a thought I had. And it ties into the only argument I've ever heard for traditionalism that I agree with, which is that traditions are good because they represent stability. Your access to resources, your lifestyle was sufficient enough so that you could recreate this tradition every year. And a lot of times we just describe that to the individual and individual traditions, but there is something to be said for like cultural traditions that sustain everyone. You know, like the tradition of the hanyo, the way they do things, is a sustainable form of fishing, and maybe we shouldn't like.
Maybe we shouldn't
Maybe
fuck around with it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I want to add one thing to just the evaluation of the strength of these women that I wish this documentary had gone into more a little bit, but there's a lovely book that I'm sure you'll hear me mention again, called The Island of the Sea Women, that talks about how part of the reason you get into the practice of being a hanyo, especially when it's like pretty not cool, when your husband is pretty not interested in that happening, is that it's money, is that it makes you money. It makes you money for your family, and it makes you money for your family sometimes in a way that your husband can't make you money. And they sort of give references to that, but I don't think they're very explicit about it. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that these women, on some levels, sacrificed being conventionally beautiful and conventionally admired to make their families money. And that matters.
I don't know. Those two Hanyo's women who are the younger ones, the example in the movie that they use of the 30-year-old one and the 40-year-old one, very attractive.
Sure.
Very pretty.
I think there's some things that are happening there that give example to this idea that actually they're very powerful and very interesting and very cool people. That
One detail.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go.
One detail I noticed. Do you remember the name of the Hanyo, the 41-year-old one who has a family and 3 kids? It's one thing I noticed.
This is one thing I want to point out. Fucking IMDb, add these women to the casting credits. Remember women's names challenge, because like they're not listed in the cast for this film on IMDb, and I was trying to do research for the film and reference them, but I could not because IMDb and Apple did them dirty.
That's fucked up.
Fucked up.
That's fucked up, yo. They're out there diving all day for sea urchins. You can't even fucking remember their names.
I also really quickly want to second what Kyra said, because that is something I noticed too, where like it was lightly brushed on with the whole, like some of us, this was, our only means of making money for our family. This was our only means of providing for our family. It wasn't just like, ooh, this seems fun, let me try and go do this, but this was a way to provide. And it was very lightly brushed on, but I would have liked to hear a little more on that.
There's a woman in the movie who's like in very early 40s, being a Hanyo, and she has a family. She has 3 kids and a husband. And during the scenes where the husband is there, her subtitles are listed under her name, and the husband's subtitles are listed under her name's husband. And I thought that's kind of cool.
And that's very Hanyo. It's very matriarchal.
That does segue into my next talking point, but I there were a few things I wanted to like look at. 2 things. One was like the effort post dive. Like I was curious. I wanted to know. It would say they'd dive for maybe like 4 hours or something, and then they'd come back and they'd be like shucking oysters and picking sea urchins apart, and just like the amount of labor that these women do on a daily basis is just, they're just built different. And like I'm amazed. I don't know. I think when you live your like soft office job, or I work in retail type life, like that kind of physical labor just feels so damn impressive, and it feels like it from a different time, which it is. It's an old practice that's been passed down from generations. I don't know. It's just like the work ethic that's passed too is fucking cool.
I also love how one of the Hanyos was like, yeah, the diving is, whatever, but the real work is shucking those those urchins. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, the diving is the part that can quickly kill them. That's the part that's deeply, deeply dangerous. But the like real work, I think about that is like, the real work is sitting there with your hands and sharp sea creatures and pulling them apart and making them edible for us, as consumers of sea items. You eat sushi, you probably maybe have eaten something that someone like these ladies have pulled apart. But they're sitting there and they're doing it with their hands. And that seems just so much harder in terms of manual labor. And I think it's interesting, again, to highlight what Mitch said, or Lucas said this, the hardest part is pulling it all apart, even though they're maybe dying, holding their breasts for 2 minutes and going at this pressure. And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that they can pull apart all these oysters in like 4 hours, but I mean, I the whole time I'm just wondering if somebody would think of the shareholders, because they're just leaving profits on the seafloor.
You good capitalist.
This is an entirely mechanizable process.
It's like the stones that are on the seafloor in the Caribbean or something that like every tech billionaire is trying to figure out how to harvest.
I think some of it is not mechanizable. Like one of the things that the Hanyos harvest is abalone.
Abalone.
Abalone is famously extremely expensive because it can't be mechanized or farmed. It has to be like wild harvested.
I didn't know what abalone was, so I Googled it, and I still don't know what abalone is.
It's delicious, is what it
Think
is.
think oyster, but fancier.
So the next theme I wanted to talk about was the themes of sisterhood and matriarchy, and what maybe stood out to y'all in terms of that. Maybe I'll kick us off. The one thing that immediately stuck out was there's a scene where everyone seemed to have a different understanding of what time to show up for work that day, and they're all just all over each other, like cracking jokes. At first it kind of seems like they're genuinely mad, but it actually just is how your family argues when you're like busting each other's balls about this or that. And it's so endearing. These women are hilarious, they're sweet, and they just seem like family, and I think it's beautiful, and that scene really encapsulated that for me.
The talk between, I don't remember their names because I don't know how to speak Korean, and their credits aren't anywhere. But it was two of the Hanyos talking in their house about the catch that day and whether or not it was going to be big or not. But before, what preceded that was them talking about like getting married. Neither of them were married. Both of them are very old, like in their 70s. And I don't know. I don't know if this answers your question. I don't know if this is relevant. But as someone who is a little bit nervous about being alone and gets a lot of anxiety about, finding my person, watching two very elderly people who clearly just figured out what the fuck they do and know what they want to do and are comfortable with their lives at that age gave me a lot of comfort. And I imagine that a big piece of that is what you're talking about, this matriarchal looking after each other, looking after the gals.
So I think also something that happens in the scene that Ben is talking about is they're kind of talking about, well, I need a husband because I need someone to help me pull apart the sea urchins, and I need someone to help me shuck the oysters.
Love.
Is vaguely what they say. And they're not really talking about like love or partnership. They're talking about, what's this man gonna do for me? Because you, my sister, my best friend, already do all those things. And so I think that also speaks to the matriarchal aspect of it. I think we can also see with the Hanyos that are from the other island, the younger ones that are TikTokers, they're like referring to these older Hanyos and the older and just giving this deference to these women, and the older Hanyo that teaches, and just this sense of, for the older ones, you've gone through this pain with me, and we are doing this difficult thing, and other people can't do it, and we know it, that other people can't do it, but we can, and we're doing it together. And I think that's, I don't know, like a bond that couldn't be replicated. Like, you couldn't have the situation where you show up at your office job in front of the computer and we didn't have the same idea of when the arrival time was. That wouldn't be a funny joke. that would be some sort of corporate drama, I don't know.
Yeah. The part of the movie where I felt the way that you're describing is when the two young Hanyos. The whole first part of the movie is like you're spent with these elderly women who are doing the work of the Hanyos, and then you just smash cut to these two young women who are wearing the wetsuits but are doing a TikTok dance in front of their phone. And my first thought was cringe, cringe. They're exploiting the fucking Hanyo culture. They're doing it for views, and then you slowly learn that they're like. No, they're actually doing this shit, and they're just as like badass as the rest of them. And then you see their interaction with like the other women, and they're like, "Hell yeah! I'm so glad you're here and doing the hard work of keeping this culture alive." And it's so sweet.
Also,
Yeah,
I think that their relationship with the fisherman is like, I think I run this company, but actually I do whatever they say. That's like so what all of those older women would want, and speaks to them being like, I need a man to help me shuck these urchins.
Yeah, you kind of have the men in this film generally are husbands or drivers or boat captains, like captain, like they're barely there, like they're basically chauffeurs and caretakers for these powerful women, and it's like a really cool dynamic. And the way they sort of talk about men like they ain't shit throughout the film is also very funny.
I read somewhere that in research for this that women actually, it's theorized that women have a biological predisposition to this work, given their bone density or something. I don't know if that's some eugenics trash or something. I didn't fact check it. I just heard it. But apparently women have like a lower shivering point and bone density that makes them better at diving.
So, to give credit to the two young YouTubers that we keep referencing, I just looked them up. Their names are Sohee Jin and Jungmin Woo. They're the Hanyo of Jeju Island.
That sounds right.
Goji. Yeah, because most Hanyos are from Jeju, but they are actually not from Jeju. They're from Gyeoji.
Gyeoji. Okay, thank you.
Maybe I'm still a white lady. I don't know.
You have more education in Korean language than any of us here, so I'll take your word for it. No, yeah, that scene that you were talking about, Mitch, it was hilarious because, like, at first I genuinely thought they were upset with each other and they were, like, about to yell. And then the one lady gets up and she's like, I was wrong about the time. What are you going to do? I'm sorry. You're going to be mad at me. And it was just like, oh, this is really cute to see them just, like, interacting and, like, putting each other through the ringer.
All right. So moving on from themes of sisterhood and matriarchy, I'd like to talk about the next generation. We've alluded to the TikTok girls, and we'll talk more about them now since we're talking about them. But also, the school. So there is a Haneo school that is featured for a short time in the film, Hanyo.
Their logo is a bop. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but their logo is a fucking bop.
I did not notice, to be honest.
I took a picture of it, and I'll post it in chat here. One sec. Check this out. Look at that. Isn't that the coolest shit?
Yeah, that's really cool. That was worth it, actually. Good job, Ben.
Thank you for your contribution.
Oh, yeah. Cute.
I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously, the story is a lot about the aging Hanyo population. And we see most of these women are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, even some in their 90s, which is crazy. Like, my grandma just died and she was 94, and they showed one 94-year-old Hanyo, like, key to eternal youth, apparently, being a Hanyo.
Yeah.
As long as you don't drown, you're living forever. But this is like contrasted by the young folks who are either engaging in the school or are the two TikTok, YouTube influencer Hanyos. What did you guys think about the younger generation?
I really sorry. I really liked seeing the school because we're talking about how, you know, back in the day when this cohort of women were younger and first starting off, that there were younger Hanyos that was more common to see, and that more and more recently that is kind of like dying out. That they went from something like 30,000 Hanyos to about 4,000 or 2,000 Hanyos, right? Within like a generation, which is a dramatic drop. So being able to see that there still is, you know, a cohort that is still hanging on, was cool to see. It was cool to see one of the cohort of older women there teaching the younger generation. And another aspect of this like older younger generation thing that was that stood out to me was the TikTok Hanyos. One of them is a mother, and their daughter kind of had said that they think, you know, their mom is so cool and that she could possibly want to be a Hanyo. And she had this internal conflict of like, I'm proud that my daughter is proud of me and wants to take after me. At the same time, this is a very dangerous job, and I don't know if I want this sort of difficult, grueling life for her, especially with how things are looking environmentally going forward. So it's a very, you know, interesting balancing act, and they're really like, yeah, protectors of not only the sea but this culture and this history.
Yeah, and that's brought up throughout the film a bit because the Hanyo culture has been recognized, UNESCO World Heritage has been recognized. So they're trying to do, there's funding and various things trying to preserve preserve the culture. I do think their way of life is sort of in direct conflict with sort of the modern Korea and the culture, you know, the big capitalism and big industry. And I can see how, especially on this rural island, like it's a small island, like that sort of rural drain of people leaving rural spaces, moving to cities, like how that would contribute heavily to the shrinkage in their culture.
Shrinkage.
Yeah, I mean, so what Lucas is talking about, this like idea of, I'm not sure I want my daughter to do this. I don't think that this is going to work for my daughter, is possibly contradictory to a previous understanding of Hanyo culture, which again is coming from the island of the sea women. You are bringing your daughters into this work because the work is lucrative and important and carries on your traditions. But then we arrive in this world where your daughters could choose work that isn't so hard, isn't so dangerous, but is still lucrative and important. And how does that change things? And to what level is preserving the culture, you know, going against modern technology? And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Yeah.
Right. How much of that is a good thing? How much of that is a good thing? How much of that is worth preserving? There's another book called The Box about the history of the shipping container that I read last year, which was really fucking good. Also highly recommended. Our listeners are getting a lot of book recs this episode. This is the book rec episode. This book is about the history of the shipping container, and it tackles the whole history of it from when it was conceptualized in the 50s to its widespread use and complete upheaval of global logistics today. And one of the things he talks about is unions. And one of the unions that was really affected was the longshoresman union. Longshoresmen were dock workers who, when you had a bulk cargo ship, which was a cargo ship that wasn't loaded with containers, it wasn't containerized. This is how shit was transported in the past. You would just have a storage area and you would fill it with the goods that you were shipping. And so longshoresmen were basically artists. They knew exactly how to take like soft goods, like big bag burlap sacks of flour, and hard goods like boxes, and efficiently pack them in this space to maximize the amount of stuff you could fit on a ship. And that career is gone now. It doesn't exist anymore because it's all fucking containers, all of it. There's no reason to ship with bulk cargo anymore. It's not lucrative. It isn't even relevant. The history of the Longshoresmen Union is it has a sort of happy ending because their union was fucking amazing and hooked all of the last ones of them up with great benefits and great pensions and shit. We love unions. Unions are dope. But there is something to be said about the loss of that art. A lot of longshoresmen talked about like wanting to get their children into it, wanting to teach them this skill, and not having that opportunity because it was just taken away from them by powers greater than they could possibly imagine. It's a very similar thing to the Hanyo.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, I think you also see that change in times present. Like they have this school, but we'll call it like the success rate or graduation rate maybe, or matriculation rate is extremely low.
I think 5%.
Yeah, like 5% of the people who enter the school, go through the program, end up working as Hanyo, which, it's important. It's there, right? It's preserving this culture. It's engaging new life, new people, new blood. But at the same time, what's the sustainability of that long term? And that's kind of the question of this film is like, can this culture, these women survive the modern day?
Well, they were listed by UNESCO as something, right? Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, but UNESCO doesn't mean you stick around. And I think that's part of the part of the documentary that's talking about environmentalism and about Fukushima, and like UNESCO doesn't save them. UNESCO doesn't preserve their culture.
Yeah.
If the
When
kids don't want to do it,
like,
the kids don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
UNESCO defines it as something that is like culturally significant in human existence. And I really like what this documentary does when it comes to the UN and the large-scale power and lack of power it has, which we will talk about later.
Do you guys think it's a bad thing?
The UN?
No, the
But that's what we're talking about.
No, the fact that we would lose the Hanyo culture if people don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think it's sad.
And I think that it's more complicated than that, too. Like the younger Hanyos, the TikTokers, they talk about every year we have to dive deeper, we have to work harder to get the same catch we got before. And these are, again, I want to emphasize, people that do TikTok as a side job to their primary job of being Hanyo.
Not only is it sad that if there were no longer Hanyo, then we'd lose this cultural aspect, and that's sad in and of itself. But what that also means is that, like, yeah, they're having a harder and harder time catching these things because of our environmental degradation. So the loss of Hanyo also means the loss of our environment, say.
Yeah. The loss of Hanyo means the loss of our environment, but also the loss of our environment means that it's so much harder to preserve a Hanyo culture anyway. And
That's true. I also agree with what you said, that it's more complicated than just is it good or bad.
This leads us, so from this next generation, we've kind of addressed the sort of elephant in the room, which is how climate is affecting the Hanyo. Kyra alluded to that as oceans warm, as fishing increases, population, and that these women are going to have to dive deeper, and eventually, you might need an oxygen mask. And even the young Hanyo says something along the lines of like, yes, we could use an oxygen mask, but then we wouldn't be Hanyo. We would just be fishing. It's kind of sort of Damocles hanging above these people, above this culture. I mean, and above the whole world, honestly, if we're being legit. So I guess the next thing we should talk about, or I would like to talk about rather, is the effects of climate, but then the Japan conflict with the Fukushima water release, which I could talk about in detail when we get to that conversation, I guess.
I put a note in before this. It was one of the first notes I put in. I said, boy, I sure hope this movie isn't about climate change.
Turns out it is.
Yeah.
Ben, I think you'll notice sort of like the whole, why is everything about class divides in Korean movies? The environment affects most things. It's all about climate change, buddy.
I know. I just don't like thinking about it because it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Ben, that's a very privileged statement.
Yeah, but I want to ride this wave.
Great. Mitch, would you like to give us some background on the Fukushima?
In 2011, there was a huge
discussion.
fucking earthquake.
Oh, thanks, Ben. There's a huge fucking earthquake. But the discussion specifically related to the Hanyo and the Fukushima nuclear waste release.
Yes. So after the Fukushima disaster, where there was the nuclear meltdown, basically there was a lot of water, contaminated water from the reactor. And the best solution to pollution, they say, is dilution. So the plan for this was to pump in a bunch of seawater to mix in with it in these tanks, and over a long period of time, pump it back out into the ocean, basically, releasing contaminated water into the ocean, but heavily diluted. And Jeju Island is very close to Japan, relatively speaking. Trash and various other things wash up on shore. The Hanyo point this out and talk about the amount of trash that's ending up off the coast of their island. And they're notably very afraid of this water being released into the ocean, potentially destroying their livelihood.
Further destroying their livelihood because they're already suffering from climate change challenges to their work.
I didn't actually look into this at all. I don't know if the release of this radioactive water would actually affect their livelihood in any measurable way.
The documentary says yes.
I'm inclined to agree with them because they're very charming and I'm on their side. I'd like them to continue doing their thing. But I mean, these are nuclear scientists. Maybe they're right, maybe they're right. Maybe it is diluted.
It is. To be fair, I haven't looked into it myself, but from what the documentary or deeply, but the documentary does talk about how it's in line with international standards. At the same time, we know, especially in the U.S., different standards across our, food or environmental safety, and how what is standard might not always be truly what is healthy or good for life. So I think it's along the lines of this water is going to be released over, I think they said 30 years. And so it's this constant exposure to small rates of radiation. It's not going to be some, nuclear meltdown level issue, but that it could cause long-term issues with radioactivity and the life in that ocean that is being exposed to that acute radioactivity over time.
And so this is kind of the whole almost third act of the film, is focusing on the water hadn't been released yet at this point in time when the documentary is taking place. And so the Hanyo galvanize and they, do protests and all these things. And was there anything from those moments and their activism and their fight that interested you or stood out to you? What were your takeaways, I guess, from that part of the film?
In my opinion, the weakest point of the film. I thought it was just kind of boring. But I did appreciate the juxtaposition of having a Hanyo speak at a UN meeting, in front of all these suits, having somebody who's actually affected by the decisions these people are making say, hey, can you stop fucking with my environment, please? Can you leave me and my gals alone? That was cool.
I mean, I thought it was kind of heartbreaking, this strong woman coming up against this system that she wasn't even allowed to speak her native language to impress her point, and she was forced because of UN rules to like fight through learning a few sentences in a language she doesn't speak, which I thought felt very very like here's the patriarchy, guys, telling this indigenous woman how she could say her truth to the world. It made me sad personally.
It made me sad too, especially like twofold. It made me sad that it wasn't, to my perspective, that she was even learning English sentences. She was being given a piece of paper that gave her Korean pronunciations of sounds that added up to some English maybe. And I don't know, and that it seemed so small in the way they filmed it at the UN, and that was sad. But I also really liked how big it felt to her community when she came back, that were like, hey, how was your trip? You really got to go out there. You got to go big international in a way we never could. You got to speak. The food? Yeah, like kind of. How was the food? And she was like, oh, I didn't have time. I don't know. And we know that she wouldn't have liked it anyway because she'd rather her really, really spicy stew there in her Korean town. And so, I don't know, I think how shitty it is that was the position this powerful, powerful woman was put in on international stage. But then we were also given the perspective to be reminded she is a powerful woman and she matters. We were given that perspective that the UN didn't get because for some reason she had to just pronounce sounds.
Which is why I think, even if it's the weakest part of the film, which I agree with you, Ben, just from like a filmmaking and narrative perspective, I think it does show why this film's important for this community as well. I will say the Hanyo there who did speak at the UN, she did go to the premiere of this at Toronto Film Festival when it came out. So she got to be there and see this work and promote it, which I thought was cool as well. That's another moment.
That's very cool. I actually kind of liked this part in the documentary, just from like a international relations and international politics perspective. The UN is such an interesting thing to analyze. It is so powerful. There is some good intentions and good aspirations that have been stated that are the UN's goals, but it's such a flawed and weak organization at the same time that can't really do much. And so, like, yeah, seeing how it felt like they were almost using her to kind of get their point across, having her, like, giving her a script and having her learn to perform English instead of being able to communicate what she wants to communicate. At the same time, you know, they did put her on a world stage, and it was really cool to see, when she got back, all of her friends being like, where is she? Where's the one who protected our country? Or, like, the hero of our country? Like, that was so cool to see. And, like, I get it. They are the effects of the degradation of this environment affect not just the Hanyo, but everybody in the region. But they're utilizing this these group of people to elicit emotions and pull your heartstrings. But it's like, how much are they using them? How much are they helping? And it's a very interesting thing to kind of dig deep into. And I like that they showed some of that nuance there.
It's also interesting because it comes up earlier in the film, and you can kind of tell. I mean, all these Hanyos are very wise, not least because of their age, you know. But earlier on in the movie, one of the Hanyo says, "What good is being listed by UNESCO if I don't have benefits?"
Healthcare.
She got injured on the job, and she was having a really emotional heart-to-heart with the camera about how, like, she can't work and she doesn't get benefits when she's not working. And it's like, yeah, we're listed by UNESCO, and UNESCO is a UN organization. So it's like, it's so fucking trivial, and they know it. They're like, they want to know, like, that their culture is going to be preserved. They want to know that, you know, they can go diving tomorrow with their friends.
Yeah, and like Greenpeace is asking them to take days off of work to protest, but days off of work means food off the table. Like,
Right.
it's and you know, one of them even is like, what are y'all doing? You're asking us to act up? Why don't you guys do something?
That's why we need motherfucking unions.
I mean, I think that's a really interesting point. Just to emphasize, like, hey, this is culturally interesting, sure, but also it represents working class people doing working class work that is in harmony with our environment, and we're saying this is only cool because it's UNESCO. Not this is cool because this matters, because the work matters, because the environment matters. Like, it has to be more than UNESCO, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like Stonehenge. It's cool because you can go look at it on a vacation or something. You know?
That's not what we want for the Hanyo.
Yeah, I think that's the important part, though, is like, you don't, like, when one of the cool moments I want to point out is that the same Hanyo who was at the premiere and went to went to the UN. She volunteers in her free time, giving like cultural tours of Jeju Island, talking about her culture, which is like amazing, and it helps people connect to this culture, these people in a real way. And it'd be awful for the only way to connect with the Hanyo culture is in a museum or in a book. Like, the fact that it's a living culture makes it so much more important and so much more beautiful. Not that the past or history isn't beautiful, but that these women are here now and they're here to share knowledge today matters. And that's why it'd be a shame if that were to go away, and why this film is important.
Earlier, one of you compared the Hanyo to surfer dudes, and I thought that was so dope.
I hope it came across, because I'm not like they're just like lackadaisical, but they're like, they value wanting to be surrounded and totally like encased in nature, and they focus their life around that. It's in a more ethical, serious, and metal way than surfers.
Yeah. What about a remake of Point Break starring?
Yes, but Hanyo.
They're actually bank robbers.
Dude,
Mitch.
but they have that like energy. But I think Mitch's point is really important. Is these people matter? Living culture matters.
Yeah, but living culture can't be infinite. I agree with everything you're saying. I totally do. But like, living culture changes, culture fluctuates, technology shifts things in and out. It's always nothing's in stasis. You're always going to have to say goodbye to a piece of humanity at some point. So at what point do you accept the loss? And at what point do you stop putting an effort to preserve it, you know? We sort of touched on that earlier, but because I agree, it would be a shame. But like, if nobody wants to do it, there's no choice.
Maybe this documentary does a little bit of both, of trying to promote it, trying to spread the word of it, get people enticed and preserve the Hanyo culture, while at the same time kind of recognizing its decline and possibly kind of being like, you know, something that we don't forget about if it does go away in the future.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it's in its twilight. You want it to be a beautiful twilight. You would like it to be on the Hanyo's terms, not because their ocean became polluted. You know what I'm saying?
For me, something that matters about the Hanyo and their culture is that they're part of a Western society. South Korea at this point is a Western capitalist society, and they're embedded in it still a little bit, and it's so matriarchal. I'm not sure that this documentary does a perfect job of displaying the matriarchy of the Hanyo society, but it really, really is about the power of women and how much they can do. and how hard they can work, and it's based on decisions of women and just the history of what Hanyo have always been about women making choices and women teaching women and women growing together. And that for me fundamentally would be a loss, if not for the job, the work of harvesting the sea life for this little enclave of matriarchy in a Western society grown off of patriarchy.
Well, friends, I feel that we've done the film some justice talking about it in these segments. Would you guys feel okay moving on to final thoughts?
Yeah, they're the same that they were at the beginning for me. One thought that I'm glad y'all share with me is this idea of losing cultures that are valuable, you know? And I think I relate super hard to the way that, Mitch, you put it, which is like you would want it to be on the Hanyo's own terms. You know, you don't want it to be for an unjust reason. You want it to be for a just reason. And I agree with that. I think it's a fascinating sort of idea to consider. And I think the movie does a really good job of showing it off. It also spends a lot of time just letting you sit in and experience it. And you know what? That's fucking cool. That's really cool. Dope movie.
I think that it was such a pleasure to be able to hop in on this cohort's day to day and their experience and their fight to maintain their culture, maintain their environment, not only for themselves but for everybody around. It's a heartbreaking and heartwarming journey. And I know that they put the Fukushima wastewater release kind of at the center of the latter half of this documentary, but the lurking danger of climate change is still very much present even without that. Mitch, there's that one scene that you were talking about with the Hanyo who was giving the cultural tours, and they were going on a hike and they saw a ton of trash along the beach, and it reminded me of a time when I was in Panama. We went on a hike. We were on the Pacific side, beautiful beaches. And then when you crossed over and saw the Caribbean side, all of the coastline was covered in trash and rubbish and debris. And just how the current systems funnel into the Caribbean, that's where all of that deposits. And so even without this, looming danger of the Fukushima wastewater, they have a very serious uphill battle. And it was interesting seeing kind of the David and Goliath of it all. They are strong women with the world on their shoulders. It was cool to see.
I enjoyed this documentary. I enjoyed putting visuals to something that I had some understanding of. I think that probably sways my opinion of the documentary a little bit. I wish there'd been more focus on just the women and their lives. But what focus we did have on the women and their lives, I really loved. And it was an enjoyable watch for me. I'm not sure that I'm gonna call it strong in terms of a film, but I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the topic. I think those are powerful messages. Yeah.
Really liked it. I think it's nice to sit with these women, kind of how Kyra said maybe she wanted more of that, because really I just want to hang out with them. But getting to hear their story is the important part, obviously. And my life is a little better in knowing that these badass old ladies are out there dredging up some sea creatures for the table. All right, friends and my lovely wife, shall we wrap this up by giving...
Am I not your friend?
You're my best friend.
He didn't say and exclusive or my lovely wife.
Shall we give our final ratings?
I give it a 6 out of 10. Good movie. It's a good
6 out of 10.
I think mine's also 6 out of 10. Beautiful visuals. Not the best storytelling for how much story there could possibly be for its characters. I loved watching it. I also think that I loved watching it because I read The Island of Sea Women. So,
Yeah, you got one up on us.
Nerd. Anyway, I guess I'm feeling more amicable or charitable than y'all. I'm feeling like a 7 on this one. I like.
Wow, you gave it a 7.
I mean, I can be one with the club. I'll give it a 6 if you guys want me to give it a 6. I'm just saying.
No. All right, it is time for that segment of our show where we scour the high seas, and this time it's actually thematically relevant to find the most crazy, off-the-wall, unhinged review that we can find of this movie online. I'd like to go first because mine is relevant to what y'all just said. So Tim Cogshell from Rotten Tomatoes is a legit critic, enough legitimacy to be named alongside an organization called Film Week. And he said, quote, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. It's too long, but that's okay.
Fascinating.
Wait, was that it?
No,
That was
thank
it.
you.
Oh, okay.
He said it was too long. He said it.
That's wild.
Like, look, I understand a short movie can feel long and a long movie can feel short and long, but this ain't it, Chief.
It's like I don't know, like anything that's like an hour and a half feels pretty breezy compared to like what I watched on the regular.
Frank on Letterboxd says, all my homies hate Fukushima.
That's a good one.
It's a good one.
I like it.
High quality.
Fukushima was fine until it got hit with a tsunami, and that's not its fault.
Are you?
All my homies.
Are you oh my god, I can't say the word. Are you turning?
Say the word. Say the word where the person drives you around. Because it's 2 podcast episodes now.
Chauffeur.
Wait, you just said it 2 ways.
I know, because I got it wrong. Yeah, anyway. Chauffeur.
I'm sorry.
All right, I'll go since I'm already getting dunked on. Yeah. My unhinged review comes from Jeff on Letterboxd. They gave it 2 stars. This was honestly really boring, and I already forgot what I was going to say about it because Letterboxd was down when I was originally going to log this half an hour ago.
Boo. Jeff. Try harder to like women.
Jeff
doesn't like women. Facts.
Clearly. All 3 of you cis men remembered a woman from this movie. And Jeff didn't.
Well, Jeff doesn't put effort into anything. Clearly. Can't even wait for Letterboxd to come back online.
All right. My unhinged review by Luca from Letterboxd rated this 3 stars. How dare young people spend all of their time on the internet instead of diving into the bottom of the sea for no apparent reason? Also, pollution maybe kinda sorta sucks? Huh? Maybe we should stop producing so much plastic or something. What a revolutionary doc, man.
Profound.
He's just trying to mock the truth by just saying it.
Yeah. I was very,
All right.
yeah. unimpressed with that.
Kyra wants to leave.
Should we end this?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I want to leave. I like hanging out
then
with
let's
my
end the pod.
friends, but we should probably cut recording.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us tonight on this journey. We are done with the documentary Epoch. Our next Epoch will be feel-good movies. And the movie that will be leading us off is one I chose called River, which is a Japanese low-budget movie that is all very, very cute. So, yeah. If you want to follow along, go watch it. And then, yeah.
Watch this space.
What?
There'll be a new episode. You know, they say, like, watch this space. Fuck off. I don't know. Kill me. It's a content
for
creator
listening.
meme. I don't know.
Hey,
Have a good night.
Hey,
Bye.
if you want to listen to that podcast episode about that movie that Ben said about, go listen to it. And then the episode will come out later. Is what Mitch meant by watch this space.
I'm so lost. What's happening?
I don't know, Lucas. I'm scared.
All right. It was great. Good night, everyone. Dear listeners. Kisses. Good night. All right.